what's up, y'all? Welcome to Conversations with my cuz. It is me, your girl Michelle with the 1L.
And I am Shayla Shay.
And now I'm Brother Love, DJ, Big Ra.
The building.
Hey,
What's up,
Rod.
ladies? How are
What's
you?
going on?
What's popping?
What's going on? Nothing but Cristal and Mo. Y'all know what it is, how I give it up.
Okay, big
You
boy.
know
That
I'm
what
saying?
happened today? It wasn't Budweiser and Heineken.
just saying, I'm just saying. How was y'all week, ladies? What's going on?
Week's busy. Just, I'm ready for this new weather, get myself together, running these streets a little bit, trying to also be productive at the same time. It ain't really working out that well, but out here living, doing the best I can with what I got. Start saying old sayings like my mama.
That's up, Miss 1L. What's going on? How was your week?
My week was cool. Today I was home relaxing, being domesticated, cleaning up a little bit, for the week because that stuff can get away from you. I got one day off during the week. People think I work at home that I should not have to be stressing about all that stuff. But after I get off from work, I don't want to do nothing. I just want to chill.
Sitting in it all day.
I work 10 hours a day.
Oh, so
now
you do have a job and you work from home. I'm just saying that's what we running with. That's what we running with after 20
almost
years.
had a job now. What that job was a
25 years come next month. Stop playing with me.
America, I'm going to challenge you. Please email conversation with my cuz. If you have ever seen Miss 1L in a work uniform or work ID, she has not have ever performed. She never, ever, ever showed the work ID. I don't even know what the seniority date is.
Oh my goodness.
Well, please email us at conversation with my cuz with a picture of Miss 1L in her work uniform.
That is so foul. I have a job ID. I wish I had it. It's in the car, actually. I wish I had it so I could just show it.
She has shown me a colleague or two over the years.
You know what I'm saying?
It ain't a lot,
but
friends,
I
colleague or two.
But yo, Robert Shea been trying to play me for many, many years about my job. You ain't got no job. He called me Tommy for years. He called me Tommy for years.
I'm trying to find the female name for Tommy right now. Thomasist?
Thomasina.
That was my aunt's name.
I have a job, okay? Yeah. Leave me alone.
Well,
but yo, we got to shout out.
What's going on with Rod?
Rod's good. Yeah, so, right now, if you notice, I got the ambiance going on, and I'm at the studio of A La Nunu. And, I want to thank her for her being so courteous and allowing to have the conversations in her living room.
That's my best friend. That's my best friend.
We got the artwork in the background and all that, just to soften up the tone a little bit, you got to say, but I had a great weekend. Shout out to my son, Chris. He turned 15 on Thursday. You know what I'm saying?
Birthday, Chris.
Yeah. I had a surreal moment today. He went to I went and got him a pair of sneakers, and I like the sneakers, and we actually kind of wear the same size now. So I tried his on. Yo, Dad, what I was saying, Dad? So we went through that. So now I know when I need to go get them Jordans and all that, where I will be retiring.
Where you need to go. I bought them.
Yeah, so
nice.
we had a really long weekend. I picked them up Friday. We did the David and Buster's. We hung out, went to dinner. We got up. We got some boy day all Saturday. Went and got some haircuts, chopped it up in the barbershop. He even went on the gig with me last night. So that was pretty interesting.
Okay.
I don't think he's ready for the 3 a.m. stuff yet. He's getting there.
I'm not ready for 3 a.m.
Listen.
Listen. And we had a good time. And then we got up this morning, and Miss A La Nunu and her son invited me to the Mets game.
Woo!
And we had a great time.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
Shout out to the New York Mets and the guy on the couch. I thought about him all day.
Yes.
But just to let him know, they will always be always be New York's second baseball team. They will never ever be a real New York team. But
See,
So anyway, what
getting
see.
else
back,
is
what
happening?
so now, so we here and we're having a great time. And shout out to I did to the Eastern Stars and the Masons. I did another one of their events.
Hmm.
Fabulous, fabulous
Okay.
turnout, fabulous people.
Nice.
Again, I appreciate them for having me. It's always a pleasure to be in their company, and I had a great time.
I'm glad
So
to
that
hear
was my
that.
weekend.
All right.
Awesome. But you know what? I definitely want to send some condolences to the Horn family. You know, their mom passed
Yes,
away. So
yes.
Oscar and Nikki, condolences to you guys. You know, it's one of our
Absolutely.
all of our childhood friends that we grew up with. So she was one of the staples in Left Rack City. So we want to send them some love, and
Mm-hmm.
because losing your mom is, if you don't
Yeah,
know, you don't know.
the
Yeah.
whole Horn family has just been a pillar in the community for years.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
So means
absolutely,
time, our prayers go up to them, you know.
absolutely. And we also lost another legend, Jim Brown. He passed away.
I know.
87.
He was
87.
87. Okay,
87.
wow.
87.
Yeah.
87. And he changed the whole structure of football, football in Cleveland
Mm-hmm.
over the years. His story is very interesting. I got into him actually when I watched did y'all ever see The Night in Miami?
No.
I did not
The
see
movie.
that. I started to watch it, but I kind of stopped watching. That was with
It's it,
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, right? That whole
Mm-hmm.
no,
conversation with them.
Malcolm X, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, and the singer, Sam Cooke.
I like the singer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sam Cooke. It was interesting
Okay.
though. Go get the background on him. He was very much into dealing with desegregation and
Yeah.
the fighting for civil rights and everything. His story
Mm-hmm.
is really, really well. It's a good story.
Yeah.
All
We're
right.
sorry to
Yeah.
lose such a pillar.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Excuse me.
What
yeah.
What
else
else
has
is
So
been
going
going
on,
on?
y'all? What else is going on?
I don't know.
Well,
You know what? We was talking about John Morant last week, right? I saw somebody post something saying that he didn't do anything wrong. No, they said he didn't break the law. So why is it a problem?
I brought that up too. Remember?
Right. And I was like, he's an it. I'm sorry.
not.
Take that back. whether he broke the law or not, he did something really stupid, and it went against the policies of the NBA, right?
Absolutely not. And that's what the whole
So
problem. That's
that it,
that's
it
the
didn't go against the policies of the NBA.
okay. No, there's nothing in writing to support it. So that's what really the holdup is because again, you didn't break no laws. So it's like how can you be reprimanded for something? I'm not. First of all, I'm not agreeing with his
Hmm.
behavior,
Okay.
but the whole thing is in if you look at the NFL and you look at the NBA, the NFL actually has a code of conduct with behavior with protecting the brand. You can't even get a DUI without being suspended in the
Okay.
Okay.
NFL. So there's not no literature there for them to really support what he has done because once again no laws were broken. But
Mm.
do I feel that he should be reprimanded? Yes, I do.
Yeah, but what are they gonna
Okay. So
hold it
someone in the
against?
chat is saying he broke the morality clause in his contract. I wish I knew what it said so I can bring it up.
Yeah, I gotta look into the contract, but I know with the NBA, and it's going to change. I know
I'm
with the
sure
new
they writing the
bargaining
code of
agreement.
contract right
You
now.
you
Right,
you
right,
know they are.
right. It's
Somebody over there
something.
typing furiously, like, yeah, let's get this thing together.
Right.
They
It's
got the
definitely
NFL's
something.
code of conduct to
Okay,
the
so this
left.
is what it says. I don't know if this is the actual what it says, but it says I put the morality clause in the NBA. It says most players' contracts and endorsement contracts contain a morals clause which gives the athlete's team, league, or company paying the athlete to endorse its product the right to terminate a contract or otherwise punish a player who engages in criminal or unseemly behavior.
Mm,
So
unseemly.
although it might not have been criminal, it was unseemly.
Unseemly is subjective, right? To it's some
Right.
unseemly to whomever decides. So
To ever decide. Yeah, like I said,
yeah.
it's got to be more. With the guy from Baltimore, I can't really think of his name, but when let's say he got into an altercation with his wife, and even though
Mm-hmm.
his wife hit him first, then he hit her back, and they went off whatever the case may be. You realize
Unseemly
it.
behavior. So that would be
No,
like
no, 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 no. But there was a clause in that
in the NFL.
in the NFL,
Okay.
it had literature in if you have police activity or if you're engaged in this or whatever it is that this is why these things was being able to be brought up. And the issue is that a lot of these NBA players, these sports figures, they do things. Do I think John Morant should be held accountable for his actions? Yes. Because the first thing I did when I picked up my son, he got in the car. He said, John done did it again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's saying that you have a 15-year-old son, and this is the behavior that you have. And shout out to
And they
Stephen
look
A.
up to these NBA players as role
Right.
models. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
And shout out to Stephen A. Smith in First Take, because I was actually watching them, and he went off and he's like, well, what are the moral standards? Look at what our president is doing.
That's true, but that doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it.
He's wrong too.
No, he's
equally
wrong
be
too.
held accountable.
But this is what a lot of the issues is, that a lot of people, you got senators sending guns. This gun thing is really starting to get out of control.
Mhm.
And like I said, it has to be a reason where everybody needs to be held accountable, not just John. You understand what I'm saying? But where we're going in this country right now is crazy. We had into a crazy time.
I agree. And people want to make it a black and white thing. And that's some of the other arguments that were saying, well, why would this person held accountable for that and this person's held accountable? Well, everybody needs to be held accountable. That doesn't mean that John Morant shouldn't be.
Correct.
Because if somebody else didn't, they should also be held accountable.
And the real issue is the again part. Right.
Again,
that's
right.
The part that really kind of like drives the nail home. Like, you would think that you would try and steer clear of something like that after the first incident, because that people are already still raw about it. So then they're gonna it just kind of further says that you really didn't get it the first time, even though, for all that happened, you kind of was able to get by a little bit, and now here you are showing the same type of behavior, which means you can't be trusted. The next time it's going to be something really heinous, right? Because that's the idea. Let's back out of this thing before he does something really crazy, and then what are we saying? I
appreciate that you say that, because the major issue now is that they just had the lottery picks from what teams is going to pick first and everything, and the NBA commissioners, Adams was there, and he said, Adam Silver, they asked him about it, and he says, the problem that I have right now, and it's really gotten me feeling the ways, is I already had a conversation with John Morant, and we had a discussion, and I thought that we already put this matter to bed, and it happened again. Mm-hmm. So when they went back to start the game, they asked Stephen A. Smith about it, and he says, I feel John Morant is in a lot of trouble right now.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like
I think it's the again part of it all. It's like, okay, you did this once, and now here we are again.
Right.
Like, you're not taking it serious at all. You're just going to do whatever you want to do and whatever.
Because it was serious the first time. Right? It was serious the first time. So for you to be in a place where you just are going to exhibit behavior that just says that everything that everyone did to back you up, you're embarrassing them. right? It's embarrassing. Like
yourself.
wow.
Like, come on, bro. You got an amazing opportunity. You got millions of dollars behind you. Like, you good
Right.
to mess it up. You could be. I mean, you already signed the contract, so I mean, he's losing a lot of money already because of those suspensions. But still,
well, the suspension he already had lost $600,000
from the
so
first
how do
one.
you? Yeah. So how do you turn around and lose 600,000?
Yeah.
Again, and I think it's going to be more this time because they suspended him for I think how many games? Like 8
It
games
was 8
or something
games.
like that.
It was 8 games,
right?
Yeah.
So he makes what, $600,000 a game, or how much did he make per game?
I don't know, but if you multiply that by 8, the potential, right?
He's
The
losing some
potential.
money. Exactly.
I know.
It's like, then you give an apology, and you're like, everybody's like, yeah, miss me with that apology.
Yeah, you can't
apology
apologize for the same
followed
thing
by changed behavior, my guy. You have to change your behavior. You can't just apologize every time you do something wrong and then expect everybody to accept your apology.
Well, I just been informed by my sports investigator, Mr. Christian Groom, that he lost about what was it again? 40 million. It's like almost 40 million because what happened is he lost to 600,000 just in games, but now his Nike shoe deal is in jeopardy.
Yes,
and it was a power drink, right?
Yeah. So he got a shoe. Don't he have a shoe?
I said the Nike deal,
and then something
all
else.
All of that, yeah. So
and the power drink.
And the power drink. So it's around $40 million.
Bruh, come on. And it's sad to see because he's a young brother, and I hate that.
Well, just before we jump off this, what I think the problem is, and I've been saying this ever since LeBron came into the league, is that they're giving these kids, you got to remember, these kids come from nothing, right?
Right.
Just imagine if you gave Ra $10 million and I'm 50. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Would y'all really want to see me with $50 million?
I mean, you are already a cocky so-and-so already. So I can even imagine. You would be like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
Yo, for y'all to get through to me, y'all probably got to talk to 10 other people first. So I'm just trying to explain to you.
I wish.
Imagine with these. Listen now, we ain't talking about me. We talking about John Moran. So
we're talking about you because you said 10 people to talk to you. Boy, I'd be like,
I would have my throne on. I would be talking a lot. I would get me a luster silk perm. But what I'm saying is, imagine these young kids coming in the league. They're babies. 17.
They don't know what to do with that.
Then they're getting these deals out of college, and these kids now going to college. They're transferring through the portals, right? Nobody's staying in college now. So now they're getting 300,000-400,000 at 17, 19. They go on the portal. They pick up another 3 million. Now you go into the league. You're getting 20 million. I think, honestly, they need to have a thing. I'm not going to say not give them no money, but just give them the money in a way where, okay, we're going to give y'all $5 million for right now. But if you put investments and put firms behind the other 15, 20 million that you get in a year, then you know what? You can have that. But just to spend that kind of money frivolously, come on,
I agree. They need financial advisors. They need etiquette training. They need a whole bunch of stuff when they first
maturity, life lessons that mature us. Right, you're missing that. I mean, I can't even imagine. Straight out of when I was 19 and 20 years old, I had absolutely no clue about how to manage my life. So I could absolutely see how that could be an issue.
It is an issue,
right?
Look at back in the days with me and Kev. We was UPS workers, and we was running around here thinking we was puffing mace, flying all over the world, broke as hell. Imagine if you gave me $10 million.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? We didn't know how to behave then. You understand?
Yeah.
So at the same
you just had a job.
And I just had a job,
a regular job.
Right.
Yeah. So just that, I feel my heart goes out to him because I feel like I'm a little upset with the NBA as well, and because I feel like it's not enough leadership in these locker rooms to grab these guys. And
Yeah.
Vince Carter was talking about it as too. Is you had a Charles Barkley in the locker room before. You wasn't beefing with Big Bad Charles. You understand what I'm saying? It was
Right.
just certain things that you wasn't doing. It's no leadership, and nobody's grabbing these players by the
Leadership,
wayside and saying what
mentorship,
it is. Yeah, and
mentorship,
mentorship. Yeah,
right?
Agreed.
Because
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
so it's a lot of work that needs to be done. But these kids getting all this money in all sports, on all levels, and
Yeah, I agree.
you take Aaron Judge for a reason. He's older. He just got the big deal. He's 30. You understand? And this is why this guy is not in the press. This is why he's not. And this is what we could end off with. Now, I remember I went to Cancun, and I'm going back to like the year LeBron James was drafted. And we were all in Cancun, and everybody was acting crazy. This guy was 18 years old. He was around. He had two of the biggest bodyguards I've ever seen in my life. The most LeBron James did that weekend was put up the rock sign. But you know why? He had people with him. He had people traveling with him. He had a team around him. And that's what makes this man so successful, because he was taught what mistakes to make and what not to do. And I just hope that a lot of these young players, they get that behavior right.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we won't see that kind of behavior again, right?
Hopefully.
If they can adopt some of those things. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I agree.
But don't give me 10 million. Oh God.
100%.
I know we got a topic for the show, but I wanted to throw this out there because I was having a conversation with someone recently, and it was about voting rights of prisoners. And I wanted to get your take on and this was really about people with felonies, right? Because looking at numbers, we had about 5.2 million people in the world who have felonies, and those people are not allowed to vote. And it was just a conversation about why couldn't they, why shouldn't they? And so I wanted to get your take on that. What is your thoughts about prisoners and voting?
Let me let Michelle go first.
I think that when they serve their time and they're no longer, even though they have a felony on their record, I still think that when they come home after they serve their time, they should be allowed to vote.
Okay.
Because now that you've done your time, you are now back into society. You are a citizen. So why can't you vote? So you hold the felony over their head because I did something, and they could have done something when they were young. You know what I mean? And now they paid the price for the crime, and now why can't they vote? They still live in America when they come out.
Right. And the whole idea is that because they lacked poor judgment at some point to get a felony, because a felony is not a small thing, right?
Right.
So that's the idea behind it. Like similarly to, somebody who has like age restrictions for drinking, like, if you just lack poor judgment. And so we put these like controls around you to monitor it because you're not, able to make these sound decisions. And so that's the part that to me was a little bit like, when you really dig down into the knowledge and you really think about what they're doing, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It doesn't.
What you think, Rob? Sorry.
Well, I think there's a couple things that Michelle, you probably missed out on, is that you can be a felon and vote. You have to give
I do understand that.
You have
not
to
with everything, though.
Yeah, you just have to give the civil release the release to civil services, where you can actually you have to petition, and you can't do that. Now, let's talk about what they say, systemic racism, and I think that this is all come from, because if you think about all the crimes that you were charged with, right, when you get arrested, everything is a felony. Right. And the more so now the more money that we have to fight the case, it gets put back down to a misdemeanor, or if it's not a misdemeanor, you could probably get it down to a violation. Right. But initially that charge is going to be a felony. So what happens is a lot of us African American people, we run out here, we get in trouble, and what do? They do felony charges at us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why I try to mentor people about domestic disputes all the time, because you could say something to a woman or a man, and guess what? You'll be charged with a felony. And if you don't have the finances or the capability or even the finances or the education to know that you have a right to fight this case, to get the cases that it dropped, then down to a misdemeanor or whatever it is, for you to go ahead and get it. But the problem is that, yes, I do believe when they get into the systemic racism, that it starts with those felony charges, because how many kids in the hood do not, run into issues with the law? It could be a fight in school. It could be anything, but it's always a felony charge. And I think that's what the problem is.
So do you think that they should be allowed? So do you think they should be allowed to vote?
Yeah, no. I do. Yeah,
we agree with everything you're saying
at the beginning, but I just said you have to file and get that release to civil services. You can't do
that's
it.
for some,
Right.
but I'm saying overall, overarching.
Of course, every felon should have the right to vote.
They should have a right to
that
vote.
right shouldn't even be. It shouldn't even be taken from them if they arrested as a felon. Why?
Right.
What does that?
All your rights are taken away from you when you get a felony. So you have no rights, basically. Once you get locked up. So once you come out and you do your time, I feel like your time should be done. Like that. I feel like your time should be done, because they make it so hard. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning anybody committing a crime. If you commit the crime, you got to pay for the crime. But then once you do your time and you come out, they make it so hard for them to really be productive in society. So a lot of times they go right back to doing crime, because they're like, I can't get a job. I can't do this. I can't do this. So everything is stripped down. I know you have to think about those things before you do things, but that's not always the case.
But why can't I believe you should be able to vote even if you locked up? It's still your God-given right. You understand what I'm saying?
You ain't got no rights. You a slave.
Exactly. But they do other things. They implement other things in the correctional facilities. Why can't you get them voting machines?
You can get a degree. You can go to school in jail.
You can get anything.
So in that sense, right, if you can get a degree in jail, then it sounds like those same rules that you're saying about this person not having the ability to, think about those kind of things clearly is just not true, because you've also given them the education. So I want to know why. First, was that a thing, and then why is it still standing? Right, because we're talking about 5.2 million people.
That's insane.
5.2 million people, and to Ra's point, it's really about the disparity of the amount of people that are like Black people that are in jails versus other races, right? That can sway a vote if they had the option to vote.
And the problem is, we haven't met a politician, to me, that actually stands up for a felon.
For that,
we don't have a politician that ever sided with a felon because their career is being jeopardized.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's another problem. They don't have anybody to turn around and advocate for them. There's no advocate. You can't advocate for a felon. Where do you go to?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, so I'm hearing. So Keisha said she thinks, hey, Key, I think they put an end to inmates being able to even get a degree in jail.
Wow.
Wow, that's terrible. I mean, but the crazy part about that is, though, if they get this degree in jail and they go to get a job and you go, here, I got this degree. Where you get it from? Rikers Island. University of Rikers Island.
School of Hard Knocks.
I'm laughing. It's not funny.
I was in there a while.
So they don't want to. They're not going to take it anyway. Probably. Like, oh no, we ain't doing that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, today I'm just
joking around. But
every university has an online class, of course, that that they can offer. So to some degree, I agree. Is the hope that there's no harm in being able to attend school. But I can't imagine being on that call with the rest of the classmates and there's somebody behind bars in that suit with a pen and paper taking notes. Like, okay.
Yeah, they do an online thing. I don't know how
Debating me in
it is. I
class.
don't know how it's set up in the jail system.
I don't
How that
either.
thing
I
works.
don't
I
either.
really don't
I
know.
don't know.
But I mean, they
That would
want to
be
strip you
interesting.
down to nothing. So it's like, is that really reform? Are you reforming them if you're not even allowing them to better themselves, even when they're locked up? That's
It's
terrible.
punishment. It's not
It's not,
reform. It's
but it's supposed to
punishment.
be reform. That's the whole idea of sending somebody to jail.
They send them to
Well,
jail so they could get free
Punishment
but
labor
and reform and
but you
free
know,
labor.
and free
it's it's
labor.
Labor.
it's funny. Like I said, the Northeast is the best place to live because they was talking about how they wanted to make Rikers Island private, the city jails private, and so I was like, oh, that's bullshit. That could never happen. So I had a friend that was from Oklahoma. Come to find out, the Oklahoma Correctional Facility, there is a lot of private facilities there, and they get funding from the state, and the level of care is a lot less than what it would be if you was locked away in the state penitentiary. And
So
what's
they
crazy
got
about
them
this,
there like Alcatraz.
it's just a crazy way of it because the friend had a son that was locked up, and he was actually trying to fight his way back to get into a state correctional facility and get away from being in a private correctional facility. It's just
Mm.
weird. See, we have a lot of stuff that we go through in New York and on the East Coast. The rest of the country, it will be a nightmare for us on
Mm-hmm.
how other people live in
Yeah.
other states. And what happens is they get a stipend, they get funding, but that funding that's just like me saying, yo, Shay, we're gonna open up a jail, we're gonna get this money from the state. But we're gonna take care of us first before you take care of the inmate. You
Yeah, there
understand what I'm
needs to be
saying?
some controls
And
around it. And I see what you're
right,
saying is that there aren't any controls around it.
Right.
right.
Because
It's
who
not
monitors you if it's private, right? Even if
right,
they give them funding, are you really paying enough attention? Are you really following the blueprint
right.
to be able to say you can't do this and you
And
can't do that? And if you do,
Right.
there are repercussions.
these things actually what happens is that it takes away from the level of care of whatever the prisoner is really going through, and the state doesn't have to spend as much money. So it's weird, and it's happening in New York State now, but it's happening on a delinquent level. Like right now, OCFS that houses the delinquents, a lot of these kids go to these private places because if they're with the state, what my friend was telling me, each kid, the investment to each kid that they hold as a delinquent is maybe $128,000 a year. Versus if they send it out to a private, it drops down where they just give the private a stipend of 60,000 and tell them to do your best with it because it's an overall budget through the state. So it's a lot of things that go on in these facilities that just be happy that New York State is one of the states that's still standing strong.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know. Just don't go to jail, right?
How about that? How about that? Yes. Don't do no crime. Stay your
I
ass
don't want
out
no
of jail,
problem.
out of the prison system, because it ain't your friend. Okay, it's
It
not
don't
your
affect
friend.
mine.
It's not your friend if you're going through a state or a private, but
Wherever,
I'm just
it's
saying
not
ever.
your friend. Right?
You
It's
be,
not your
be
friend.
arguing and cussing. I ain't going there. Send me to the state.
Ain't that crazy though?
Don't you send
It's
me
crazy.
to the state?
Don't
Yeah.
send me to the
Bring
state.
That is
Don't
insane.
you
No,
send me over there. Just Shay and be in the conversations with my cousin's jail. We be over there like,
right?
we caking up.
We caking up. We getting this money.
We gonna reform them though. We gonna make sure they come out a better
They be so
person.
sorry. They be coming out like kumbaya.
With affirmations and
That's
everything. Burning
Now they-
sage.
They be
That's
coming
right.
out. Rob's right. Rob's right. That's my man.
Yeah, right. You would
I
love
feel
that.
you, son.
Well, anyway, guys, we're gonna move on to the topic. The other N word.
Other N-word.
The other N word. Narcissistic. The overused N word. Because it seems
The
like
overused.
nowadays everybody is using this term to describe people in their lives or not in their lives, or I was in a relationship with a narcissistic person, blah, 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 blah. Now, there are some differences with a person being narcissistic and a person having narcissistic personality disorder.
Yep.
That is a diagnosis. All of us have narcissistic traits. Every last one of us.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Everybody. All people have narcissistic traits. So I got some data, y'all. Data. It says there's a normal amount of narcissism that helps. Wait. Okay, let me start over. All people have narcissistic traits to some degree. In healthy individuals, a normal amount of narcissism helps them take pride in their accomplishments and find joy in their personal life. Even a high degree of narcissism is sometimes a common occurrence for certain individuals and age groups. So, with that being said, there can be a healthy amount of narcissism.
Right.
Right.
So that's the thing. It can be healthy. You can be a healthy narcissist, but then there is the disorder.
Then there's this disorder. Right.
Okay. So when people
right
are behaving
my the other day, I was a narcissist. Yes, it is way overused. It sure is. Go ahead, Rasha.
Let's define the definition of.
You want to define it, or you want me to define it?
I have it up. Okay. Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need to seek too much attention and want people to admire them. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or to care about feelings of others. But behind the mask of the extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth or easily upset by the slightest criticism. Now, going back down, I just wanted to point out some of the symptoms. Have a unreasonably high sense of self-importance that require constant admiration. Feel that they deserve privileges and special treatment. Expect to be recognized as superior even without the achievements. Make achievements and talents seem bigger than they are. Be preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. Believe that they are superior to others and can only spend time with or be understood by equally special people. So I said that's just some of them. I don't really want to.
There's a lot.
Have much time.
There's a lot for someone to be classified as having narcissistic personality disorder, and that's where we kind of need to really be careful because people. So I'm guilty of it too. I'm going to say people are so quick to be like, oh, that person's a narcissist. They're a narcissist. Because you have to understand if you encounter someone and the percentage of people is very low that have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. 0.5%.
Keeping in mind that everyone has a little bit of it. So
everyone has a little bit of it. Right.
Everyone's a narcissist to a minor degree. It doesn't necessarily mean you have narcissistic personality
disorder, which
that is a different thing.
That's something different.
When you meet somebody like that, because if you've been in a relationship with somebody who really has it, when a relationship is over, you like, oh my God, what happened? You need therapy from having been so mentally abused in the situation that you don't even know how. And you see people sitting in it, right? Because it's not outwardly abusive thing, right? It's a mental manipulation that goes on with that person demeaning their mate or sometimes doing things like being aggressive towards them. It doesn't necessarily mean physical abuse, but they can be aggressive towards you, right? And they don't function in society well. It's not just in a relationship, but it affects how they work. It affects how they show up in the world. So that's a different thing.
And a lot of times, even with narcissistic, if you have the disorder, they even have problems being a parent.
Correct. Now, see, this is in the. I don't even know how to say her name right, so I don't want to mess it up. Ro.
Oh, that's Vicky. That's Vicky.
Thank you. Look at you. Help me,
I went
Lord
to
of
school
mercy.
with her.
All right,
That's my
Vicky.
206.
So she said they mislabeled anyone with toxic traits as narcissistic. It's a terrible use of
Yes,
this buzzword.
it's so true.
Right. Because
It's so
toxic
true.
traits doesn't necessarily mean that, right? But
And you can
that's
just be an
kind of the
asshole.
way that you could just be an asshole. But that's the way to dismiss people, right? To
It's
shut
true.
them down, call them a narcissist, and then they got to argue that point as opposed to dealing with the assholey thing that they might have said.
And you got to be careful when you're labeling somebody a narcissist. Because that could be dangerous too, you know. Because of course, if you label somebody, you call me a narcissist, I'm being like, I'm defending myself, and now we probably going to be going back and forth, and I might say something. Oh yeah, I knew it. Yeah, you're a narcissist.
You just proved it by that statement you made.
Exactly. So, and the unfortunate part about this is that it says 75% of people with narcissist NPD, we're gonna call it, they said are men. And not that women can't have it, but they said the high percentage is men. Is
But
what
see,
the statistics are saying.
But I can understand why though.
Okay.
Because a lot of men are prideful, right? A lot of men they're prideful. The egos is big.
Straight.
You know, so I can understand why. And another reason why, like you said, 75% of the narcissists are probably men. Again, but to me is I want to dig into this a little more and really find out on how old this diagnosis, when they come up with it, how they came up with it, because sometimes is it something that can really, like when we go into these mental health things and we go into these diagnoses, it's like when we start talking about bipolar depression, when we start talking about depression, schizophrenia, these things, these are life-threatening issues, right? Where people are on the verge of not really being able to handle themselves in life. My thing with the narcissistic behavior disorder is that I'm just trying to understand is if you have all these things going on with you, I just want to know and reach out to a couple therapists and see, like, does that really, it means that it stops life for you? Or how do you really come up with that?
It stops life necessarily. I think it has a lot to do with the quality of life for the
and
person
the mental abuse
who has it, and then how they show up in the world and treat other people in their space. And so in that way, you cause other people harm. Especially a parent that may be exhibiting that and raising children could really socially and emotionally handicap their child, right? Or a mate that may be dealing with it, because there are narcissistic women that will, you know, put a man through a ringer as well, right? That by the time the relationship is over, these people are no longer functioning in society in the same way, and it's about a quality of life, right? Because depression doesn't necessarily always mean that it's a suicidal thing, but depression can diminish your quality of life, and it becomes an issue because of that.
Right, but if depression, if you have a thing with depression, it's levels of it. So if you would want to attack depression in this early stages, because it can get really, really bad. And that's why I think sometimes, because you know, when we get into mental health issues and stuff like that, it's kind of like health issues, right? So when we start getting into the cancers and the other sicknesses, that liver disease and everything, these things can become life-threatening. And to me, it's like when we talk about people with these narcissistic ways, like Shay, you said, it's always something bothering a counterpart or a partner or something like that. And to me, a partner has an option to leave. A partner has an option to say, I don't want to be in a company with this person. A friend has the option to say, I don't want to be in a company of this person. So when you say you've been with a narcissist, let's say for 10 years, or this, that, and the other, whose fault really the fault that you're with that narcissist for that long. If
I'm
you
not
know that
touching that
something's
one.
not good for
Yeah,
you
I'm not
at
gonna
that
touch
same
on that.
time, you
I'm
understand what
not
I'm saying?
touching that one.
Because that's just the way I look at certain things. Is that, like I said, I never take a blind eye to mental health, but at sometimes is I just want, like I said, I just want more data on it to see, because a lot of these symptoms here that you really see with people that has these disorders, like you said before, it's almost everybody in life have
Right,
these.
but let me just interrupt. It's only a small percentage of people that are diagnosed with NPD. That means that it's something bigger than just having a trait,
But this
or
is
just
why
bigger than just possessing some of these traits.
no,
Right.
It's a
right.
lot bigger than that.
But why when people get diagnosed with things, right? The reason why they get diagnosed is because people accept certain things and they reach out to go get help, right? So
Right.
it's like with the same thing. Like when you have a cancer, you get diagnosed, you're not feeling good, you turn around, you go get checked, you might get diagnosed with cancer. With depression, it's the same thing. With bipolar, it's the same thing. Schizophrenia, it's the same thing. Is that something is just not right with the narcissistic behavior is, again. So when you say it's only so many people being diagnosed with that, is because those people are actually reaching out to go get help. A lot of people could actually have it. It's just that if you reach out to get the help to be diagnosed for it.
There's some people that
Oftentimes
don't
it's
recognize they don't that
right.
they
It's
have it.
someone else that helps that person realize that that's
Right.
what it is. Sometimes people who live their life in a shattered space, and that's all you don't realize that it's not normal behavior,
Right.
right? Because that's your life. It's just like place when you grow up in a place full of trauma, you just don't it doesn't feel the same unless you step out of it. So when you're
Right.
immersed in it, you don't even realize that you're being that toxic person, that you're
Agreed.
harming your family, that you're hurting your loved ones, this is
And
why you
yourself.
can't hold a job. This is why you have, this level of anger or fear that you just can't get rid of, that has diminished your quality of life. You can't find that happy place.
Yeah, and also to add to that, a lot of times people with this disorder tend to be alcoholics, drug addicts. They turn to substances, which now also threatens their quality of life, because now you are a narcissist and you are you're a substance user. So it does harm
I
you
like
in
the
a
way you
way
did that.
that's
Well,
for me.
the little bit of data that I've
We'll call
gotten
out a
on
bunch
it,
of stuff.
no, a little bit of data that I did get on it is that I found out that with the narcissist personality disorder, it comes with something else. It comes with something with like PTSD or something like that. It's an
Right. It can
underlying
be
issue
it can be
that it
severe
might come
That's
with it.
true.
That's
trauma.
why I say I want to really, really look into this a little bit more, because a lot of this stuff here, and the word is really being used loosely,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the topic of the
because
show, because
right,
people tend to
it
use it
is.
without really knowing why they're calling it. Only because you read something that says this person does this, that, and the third, so they're a narcissist. And again, all of us are. So you're calling somebody narcissist, and you probably do some of the
You
same things that
probably
they're
are
doing
recognizing some of the things
yourself.
in
No,
yourself,
I've been,
and
like I
that's
said
why it
before,
jumps
I've
out
been
at you.
no. I've been called a narcissist. So
No,
like
we're
like
not
I
directing
said,
it towards you. We're
no,
just saying in
What I'm
general.
saying through life, I believe everybody at one point or another has been called. I don't use the word personally,
Yeah,
but
I don't.
I don't.
Yeah,
But because the thing is, when you start using that word loosely, it's like, you know what? It's in more of a negative way, and I don't like to think people in
right.
my
Because
circumference that's negative. But
well, see, if you do have narcissistic traits, there's not a lot of positivity in those.
Mm-hmm. Right.
well,
If you think about it, there's not a lot of positivity in narcissistic traits, because it's usually self-absorbed, selfish people that tend to get called that way.
And
But
they're
it's
just and
or
manipulative,
they're
right?
selfish
Because
and
they're
manipulative, right?
right.
And they tend to think, and those are not negative; those are not positive
but
things.
those things,
So
kind
you're
of
a
things like you.
narcissist,
No. No. But what I'm saying is well, the self-absorbed is coming. It doesn't really say nothing about manipulative, but what I'm saying is that
Because
when you read a lot of these traits, is I got them right here. I
I
just didn't
got
want to go
data.
through them all.
No. I'm
But
not talking about.
what?
I also have
Right.
some data on examples of narcissistic abuse. People who have been on the other end of a narcissist.
Mm.
And those are some of the things that they are saying that they are subjected to. Is gaslighting, manipulative behavior, emotional blackmail, overwhelming affection. Like, they say narcissists love bomb so they can get you in their grace. And then
Mm-hmm.
once they get you where they want you, then then all hell breaks loose. Now, a person who gets blindsided by that is all in love now. So and they don't take accountability for their actions. These are all things that are things that narcissists tend to do to other people. So that's something that parents can do to their children. So
Right.
we were talking about before the show. Where does it come from? How do you become a narcissist, or somebody that gets diagnosed? And it comes from your childhood. You have a narcissistic parent, or and it doesn't even say. Well, let me not say that because it doesn't say that. It says full onset of NPD may occur when interpersonal development is compromised. Learning manipulative behaviors from their parents or their peers, being excessively praised for good behaviors and excessively criticized for bad behaviors, suffering from severe childhood abuse or neglect, inconsistent or unpredictable parental caregiving, growing up with unrealistic expectations from parents, being excessively pampered or overindulged by parents, peers, or family, being excessively admired with no realistic feedback to ground you with reality, receiving excessive praise from parents or others focused on your looks or abilities. So those are the things, your environment, correct, right, Simon?
Mm-hmm.
Your environment can create that in you. Now, if you're not aware that you're this, you're going to maneuver through life like, I'm good.
Right. And that's what I mean about being in a space where you think it's normal behavior when it's not. That's the difference.
It does sound like everything causes nothing, and it can. We
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say it's not just black people that are narcissists at all. But we're black, so that's what we're talking about. But what I'm saying
People
it's
in
a
general.
serious thing. It's a serious thing, and only because it affects your mental, it affects your life, it affects how you interact with the world, and it can affect your children and your loved ones and just people in general.
Right.
So, but when it goes back to overusing it, people have to be really, really careful when you're labeling somebody a narcissist. Like, you
But
need to chill
because you don't know, right? We're
because you
not.
don't
I mean.
know. You're not a therapist. You can't diagnose
Mm-hmm.
anybody. Now, if that person is just a horrible person and they're just toxic, then that's just what they are.
Right.
Until
I wonder
someone
how
diagnoses
therapy
them.
is for someone with NPR. What do you think that looks like?
I was reading something about where they were saying that there's like the treatment for it is like therapy and talk therapy. Basically, it's just therapy. I don't know what that looks like.
Maybe making them aware of the fact that their thought process is warped, right? Because it really
Yeah,
becomes about, if you think that everything in the world comes through you, right, and
right,
that you're never wrong, or your thought process, and you're aggressive in your space, then
right.
maybe therapy looks like you're being held. Like, does that make real sense? What about the other person?
Well, from what I
Yeah,
pulled up when I was looking on the Mayo Clinic website, it said that a lot of the stuff with the narcissistic behavior personality disorder, it's just a lot of it is it it's like it needs a lot of work. It takes a lot of work, and a lot of it doesn't even, yeah, it doesn't even really matter. It doesn't help them much. It's because
Mm,
it's what's going on. It's hard. Like I said, I dug into this, and the way that I really look at it sometimes is really kind of how people are really wired. You understand what I'm
Simon
saying?
said it's
And
embedded in your
it
personality.
is, it is,
it is.
and
It
that's
is.
what they say. And they even said with the therapy, yeah, you
And
can try
they don't think
therapy,
they're wrong, and that's
right?
exactly what it is. So
But
therapy might not help them.
but it doesn't, and that's what it really says. And that's where it comes to the point of, is when you say you're dealing with these things, is sometimes you have to really protect your peace, and really say, hey, you might have to sever certain times when dealing with people like these, because that energy turns out to come back and reflect on you.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So at that time, you have to understand that even if you feel somebody's a narcissist, okay, whatever it's us, but how is this narcissist working out for me in my life?
Yeah, absolutely.
You,
If
you understand what I'm
you're
saying?
encountering a
Right.
narcissist and you feel like this person is a narcissist or a toxic, then of course you should remove yourself from that situation because it's taking away your peace. But how
Right.
many people are in these situations that dealt with this person for a number of years, and then they like, okay, wait a minute. It's not, it's hard to just kind of say don't choose to be in a
It's
relationship with
not
that person
so
because you
so
can,
Because you think they're just an asshole
no
right?
sometimes, right? Not
so
necessarily doing things to harm you in that way.
right. So here goes a question. So if you stayed in that long, even if you were an asshole for so long and this, that, and other, who do you think would kind of really need the therapy? Is it the person that you're with, that you feel this person's that way, or is it you for even
They
allowing your
they
peace to
both
be
may need
broken
some
that long?
therapy because if you
I
is
don't
in a
know if it's
relationship
about
with a
allowing.
narcissist,
That's the word
yeah,
that's
I don't like the
bothering me,
allowing
because
part
you know
because
what?
sometimes that's, yeah,
When
that's
you
kind
think
of
about people who are in physically abusive relationships and they've been in that relationship for 10 years, you don't come away from that situation and go, how did you allow it to happen?
right,
Right? People get into situations and
Right.
it's not a situation of blame, because now when you're talking about it, it's like whose fault is it? And it's not about
No, no, no,
fault
no, no.
as much as it is about, if you are in a situation with someone who love bombs you, right? They love bomb you, and now you're in this situation, and it becomes this mental game of them slowly
right,
breaking you down where you
right,
don't even realize it, right? Just like how they say you can cook a frog on low temperature and they won't jump out the pot because you don't even realize that you're being cooked. And
right.
that's kind of how it happens,
That was
or how it
perfectly
can
said, Jay.
happen,
No, I
right?
agree with you.
So if
So
And
that's
then
happening to you, and once you're out of the situation, the person who was put through it absolutely needs
needs
therapy.
therapy.
They've
right,
been through a lot, right? They
right.
need to be rewired to not be in that situation. But I have a problem with the word allow or whose fault. Those words to
Hold
me
on.
are not words that need to be
They're
used
not,
in this
yeah.
Right, right.
And
I'm
someone
not
else
situation.
gonna.
said, what
Okay,
if
wait a
it's
minute.
family? What
It's
if it's
not. Hold
family?
up, hold up. Not you. You have to set bound. Listen, you have to set boundaries with everybody in your life. Being if it's a family member, being if it's a child, being if it's a lover, being if it's a friend. You have to set boundaries because you have to protect your peace. If you can't protect your peace and function, you can't function for nobody else.
But
Right?
Okay.
narcissists also
Wait.
seek out
Well,
people who are not in that headspace when they
right.
see a Vic, right?
Exactly.
You are not already mentally strong. You're coming from a place where you've got it together and you would see those signals straight away. A lot of people are not in their space. They are Vics. You don't realize that that's what it is, but they see something in that person that they feel they can manipulate and they
Agreed.
go in. And
Right,
that's how
And
but
you get caught.
accountability
right,
is a
right.
better word because no
It
matter
is.
whether or not you're in the relationship, you have to take accountability for your part in that situation because yes, you are there. So yes, accountability is a better word than to blame or to say that they were at fault because they are both equally responsible for the situation.
Again, but allow doesn't mean at fault. What I'm trying to tell you, the word allow is to me is majority of people are in these situations, you're right, that are in these verbally abusive situations, these relationships, they end up in counseling, but a lot of the times maybe the counseling was needed even while you was in the relationship or even before you was in the relationship.
And that could very
and
well
and
be
That's
and,
true.
true.
and then right, so when I really say allow, it doesn't mean that, it means to look into a situation, so it's like
Accountability.
on the same thing is like I say, is if you can't protect your peace, again, you're not going to be able to stand strong for yourself or for nobody else.
What about
And
if it's a family member that's the narcissist and you're a teenager or a child?
well, I mean,
That child does not, you the child can't be responsible or be accountable when it's their mama.
I mean, I get it, but the child is going to go through that at some age when the child grows up. Still going to you have to set boundaries.
Yeah, you do.
The
It's
whole thing,
all, yeah, absolutely.
the whole thing
I
in
totally agree
life,
with that.
to being at anything in life, you have to set certain boundaries. If you don't
You
love
do.
yourself
You do.
first, you cannot possibly love somebody else. You're
Agree.
not
Well,
capable.
you also, if you're also in a situation where you've been in that type of situation growing up, it's sometimes how those people show up in the world, and they exhibit some of that same behavior, and the cycle continues because no one is there to say that's not healthy behavior. And so
Yeah. If you don't know
it's
it's unhealthy behavior, then how would you know to change it?
that's right.
No,
If
no,
that's
no.
what you're
Right.
used to. That's all I'm saying. If that's not what you're used to. This isn't, I'm not, I agree with what you were saying. All I'm saying
I
is
do
that
too.
if you don't know that that's what you're encountering, you would not know to leave that situation
Right.
until
Because it
it's
looked
like,
normal.
okay, it looks normal to you. Until it's like, okay, wait a minute. I am
Right.
down in the gutter. I
Right.
need
Woo!
to get out.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like for instance, if I had a friend of me come to me and say, "Oh, I'm going through this, so this person's that," my first question is always be, "Well, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about you?" You understand what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
to me, if I'm not feeling good, then I have to check on why I'm not feeling good, not why somebody else
Yeah, agreed.
is
Agreed.
causing me not to feel good.
Sure.
And the only thing
Agreed.
it is like I said before. So sometimes is it's just about, even like you said, even with children and even with friends of children, it takes a village, right? So my thing is when I see kids and I see their parents and stuff like that, we might have a conversation. I'd be like, well, maybe you should try counseling. Maybe you should do this. Sometimes it's something that could start early in life, but at some point is again is that I I just know with this is that boundaries probably will be your best thing with
Yeah,
dealing
and
with anything.
it's definitely boundaries so that you do not get into a situation with a person who has been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. That there are a lot of signs that you can see and you can avoid. So if you know them, but you just have to be careful when labeling somebody as a narcissist
Right.
because that person may
Right.
not even be diagnosed with this thing. They just may, and shoot, we like I said, we all possess narcissistic traits. We just
Well,
have
I'm
to
glad.
make sure
Sorry.
that whatever those traits are, that they're not coming across in such a negative way that you can't even interact with people. You know what I mean? When you're causing harm, or when you're that person, it's like, all right, dad, I can't even deal with them. They so
Right.
self-absorbed. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So they so toxic, or they so manipulative, all those different things. But just be careful when labeling somebody with that word, because it's now become a thing. And I think it's like, ever since people have discovered this word, and it's now this thing, maybe it's been happening. It's not something that's new. It's just that they have a word to go along with whatever that
Right.
thing is.
Well,
Right.
like I said, it's if you
Simon
look at
says a narcissist knows he's a narcissist, but I don't know if they do.
Then there's NPD.
he doesn't
A
he
narcissist knows he's a narcissist. Okay, then there's NPD. So there's two separate things.
Correct.
Does the person know that they're selfish and self-absorbed, or do they
Yeah,
admit it?
to
There's
some
no
degree.
accountability
When
there.
I'm
They probably
drinking
don't.
Jack
They're not going to
Daniels, I'm
own it.
self-absorbed completely.
Yeah, I
So I
think
know that.
boundaries is a good conversation to have, Vicky. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
agree, because setting them are really challenging. It's easy to say do it, but it's hard to actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, it
I agree.
is. It is, and it really is, and that's why counseling is strong. And if you're not getting results out of one counselor, you get another one, because remember it's all people and it's all conversation and it's all talking. And sometimes certain counselors don't work with you hand on hand. Like you
Mhm.
can't relate to certain people can't relate to you and who you are and what you're going through. So if one counselor don't work, get another one. It could take 30
I
counselors.
agree. Yeah, I agree. You need to be with someone you're comfortable with for sure when you're seeking out counseling.
Right.
But it's
In order
something
to
that
make
I really,
progress.
honestly, I feel like all Black people should go to counseling.
Okay.
It's in some area of their life they need it, honestly, because of all
I
we've
think
gone
all
through. All we
people.
I think
I
all
don't know
people.
if it's just
people
Black
should, I
people.
agree, but
Exactly.
I'm speaking for us, our culture in this
Okay.
moment. Okay.
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 Power to the people. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
Right on,
Yeah,
right
I
on.
agree. All people should get counseling. I agree. And
Mhm.
because living in this life, growing up Black,
You know
listen,
what?
that ain't an easy thing to do.
You know what? I'm gonna, and this is funny. This just came to me what Simon said about people know that they're narcissists, and then it's, you know what? I'm gonna agree with that because I think a narcissist know they're a narcissist. They don't care.
They know most times they do not care.
And I think they really know, but that just goes again. Is it a disorder, or is just knowing who you are, and this is who you are, and you're not going to change?
Like Simon said, there's narcissist and then there's NPD. One
Right.
is a disorder, one is just you a narcissist, and you have narcissistic traits that you just exhibit to the world.
And
So
Right.
you just don't
they're
care.
kind of two different things to some degree.
Look at what Simon says there. We all suffer from NPD.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
You
know if
know,
I agree with that, Simon.
I don't have
I
that disorder.
well,
Yeah, I don't have that.
That's a
disorder.
lie
don't.
straight
I'm
from the
not.
pit of hell.
No.
I
I
rebuke
don't
that
know
in
what
the
it
name
is,
of Jesus.
but like I said,
You got it, Simon.
Yeah.
no, I got it. But what I'm trying to say
Send a
is
therapist
that
to his number. Don't play
right. But
with me.
what I'm trying to say is that you see how this word is using and being used, and like I said before, I just think that people are just who they are. You understand what I'm saying? And again, everybody's not perfect. We're all human, and we all make mistakes. And at the same
Agreed.
time, we all gonna need help at one day, one time. But to me, is I just feel like people are who they are, and that's what it is.
Okay.
I agree. People are who they are, but I sometimes feel like people use that to continue to do the crap that they do. This is just the way that I am.
Yeah, they have
I
that
am not
right.
going to change. But my thing is, when you become aware that your behavior is is not okay, then you need to make some changes. But it's
I,
easy to just accept it and say, "This is who I am. I'm not going to change who I am."
I'm
Because
going
this
to
is who
tell
I
it
I
to
am.
think
you
it
like this.
also.
I'm going to say it to you like this. Does Mr. Trump want to change? He's who he is.
He is, but okay,
That's
we know
it.
him.
That's it. He's
Well,
who he is.
here's the thing. If you are living your life in a way where you are harming other people, then your behavior needs to be addressed. And
Agreed.
that's really where it comes from. If you can be a narcissist in your bubble and you're just happy in your own little life and it's not causing anyone
Right.
else harm, then by all means be that. But when it becomes about somebody else and you're hurting your children or you're hurting your family or you're hurting your mate,
Agreed.
that's when it needs to be addressed.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely.
And we're out of
And
time.
we are out of time.
Yes,
I
sir.
heard that, sister.
Simon said we all have a form of competing against each other without regards of other in the same way. I agree. I totally agree with that. But that doesn't
Tell them to
necessarily
pull
make
that
us.
up. Let me see that.
That doesn't necessarily mean that we have NPD because of that. And I agree. We can keep going with this conversation on and on and on. But it is
Right.
the end of the show.
Yep.
So
We're over time.
we are over time. Welcome, Vicky. She's a new person in the chat.
I see her.
My 206 alum.
I love it. I gotta find
Yeah,
my
man.
206 alums.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna
So
go on
Shane,
Facebook
you
and
know
find
what
a
to do?
206 group. Put y'all in it.
I
So,
think there is
thank-
one, actually.
It probably is. So, hey, look for us. Where you find us? YouTube, Spotify, Twitch, Facebook, iHeartRadio, and UBU Radio. Check us out. Press like, follow, click, get them shares.
Shout out to Simon Green.
And catch the replay on UBU Radio on Wednesday. Simon said there's one comment he wanted us to address before we end the show. Said there's a thin line between narcissism and altruism. And you
Okay.
probably all right. Now I got to go look up that
Yes,
word 'cause
Simon.
I don't know.
Google
We're
it.
overtime,
I need to Google
so
that.
maybe that's a whole nother show.
We are out of time, guys. And you know we end every show with a quote. And today's quote is: "Stay away from people who can't take responsibility for their actions and who make you feel bad for being angry at them when they do you wrong." Protect your peace. In other words, is what that means.
Protect your peace. That's what I'm trying
We're
to
gonna
tell
see you guys next week.
Set your
Peace
boundaries.
and
All
love.
right, guys.
Protect your peace, guys.